What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rivers Experience. Now, we're out in the shop again, and we're gonna be making micarta this time. Now, I've never done this before, so it's gonna be a learning experience. Hopefully it's a learning experience for you, and we both learn something together. I'm gonna be making the form out of wood, this stuff right here, and then we're gonna be using felt. This is just a bunch of different colors of felt. We're gonna use this, try it out, see how it goes, and you know, if we make it, awesome. If we don't make it, well then we learn from it and we'll try and do something different. But let's go ahead and jump into it, see how it goes. Alright, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and cut these in half because I want them to be that thick. From every video that I've watched, they said to make it thicker than you think you're gonna need and put more layers than you think you're gonna need. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cut it in half, just go from there. Let's get it done. So I ended up using a piece of felt to actually measure this bottom piece and make sure that it was nice and even with what I was going to be doing. And then I took that to actually measure all the other pieces. And all I wanted to do was make this cool little box here. And I used the bottom piece to actually measure out the top piece. And I make the top piece just a little bit shorter so that it's easier for it to recess into the box. And you definitely want to know which one's the bottom and which one's the top, because the top is smaller than the bottom. We go ahead and give it a quick sand so that there's no rough edges binding anything up or poking holes in the parchment paper later. And then I'm going to go ahead and use one of my clamps to make sure that everything is square. So when I go in here and drill out this first hole, it's nice and even because everything is going to be squared off of this piece. And I'm just using a drill bit with the countersink set up on it so that the screws countersink real nicely. Because my clamp is not very big and it's the biggest clamp that I have to take that piece off and do the same thing on the other side. Make sure it's square, get the countersink hole done, and then go from there. It wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, so I went ahead and took it over to the disc sander and got it as square and as smooth as I could so that the wood sat as flush as possible and it gave it the least amount of areas for the resin to seep through. And then we're just going to rinse and repeat, put screws in it, and go from there. So the box definitely came out exactly how I wanted it to. And I'm going to go ahead and test fit the top to make sure it fits how I wanted it to. It sits in there perfectly, has just enough room around it so that the resin can flow past it instead of through any of the gaps or cracks in the box itself. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off these bottom screws so that I can actually pop the bottom plate out. And I'm marking it because this plate can only go one direction. All the screw holes are not even, and you want to be able to screw back in to the exact hole each time so that you're not messing up any of the holes. So that's what I wanted to make sure and do here. I knew which direction it went. I knew what was the top of that plate, what was the bottom of that plate. It's real simple just to do it this way. I went ahead and wrapped the bottom piece with the parchment paper and got it put back up in there while also wrapping the side pieces. I'm going to go ahead and test fit that top. It fits perfect even with the parchment paper in there. Now we're going to go ahead and tape down the sides so that they're actually locked down. We're going to take that top piece and get it wrapped in the parchment paper, just like a little present. There we go, top piece fits in there perfectly. So now all we need to do is get the layers put in there and the resin applied to it. And this was really just the rinse and repeat part. You put a piece of felt in, you put resin down, spread it out, put a piece of felt in, put resin in, spread it out. Like I said, rinse and repeat, nothing too crazy there. What we are going to do, we're going to get it nice and spread out, and then we're going to go ahead and put that top piece on. Get the clamps on it, and you want to make sure that you clamp this as even as possible so that you can release air bubbles and have the same thickness of micarta when you're done. So I had to end up putting this little wooden block in here because, of course, pretty sure I put too much resin in there. This should be interesting. This will either work or it won't work. So now we can just go ahead and take this thing apart, pull out all the screws, and be able to release the micarta from its mold. That's the whole point behind this, making it as easy as possible. Now we just use a chisel and a hammer to separate it from the top plate of this mold, and it releases quite easily. And this is just the excess resin with that top piece of wood just hanging out in it. And that parchment paper did its job. I was able to pull everything off of these and have them ready to reuse it again for the next one. Alright, so what I ended up doing was I cut them down into actual usable handle scale size. So this is 3/8 of an inch by 1.5 inches by about 6 inches long, and it's the perfect size for me to shape into a handle. Now, those came out awesome, but what I want to really give you is a few simple tips to take away from this. Number one, make a form that is real simple and real easy. I see a lot of YouTubers and a lot of people make these forms out of whatever scraps they had just laying around, and they thought, I'm gonna make my Micarta today. So they grab a 2x4, a 6x6, a 4x4, some plywood, some angle iron, they slap something together, and it's super messy and it just looks crazy to me. This was about $8 in wood, and I have extra left over, about $3 parchment paper. Total material for this right here was about $3, and that resin was about 18 bucks. I used about a third of it. So I just want to make sure that y'all actually take the time to think it through, plan it out, and then do it. Don't just go, I think I'm gonna do this, and then you end up with a big mess and you make yourself not want to do it again. If you take a little bit of extra time, you'll want to do it in the future. So I want y'all to have that as a big takeaway. Now, number 2 takeaway, use parchment paper. This makes it a lot easier for the resin to release off the wood. Some people use wax paper. It sticks to the resin, it doesn't release very easily, so think about using parchment paper. It's really cheap. You can use it for many, many, many scales. 3, use a clear epoxy or resin. I used Bondo brand fiberglass resin, and it was pretty dark whenever it came out, so it did darken my handle scales a little bit. I'm not that worried about it. I'm still going to use them for my next knife build, and if you want to see that knife build, come down here in this bottom corner and hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell, and I'll pop up in your feed. Now, other than those real simple tips, I want to make sure that if y'all learned anything from this, y'all go down in the comment section and tell me about it. If y'all think I could have done something different, put that in the comment section as well. I read those things, I respond to them, and I love the criticism because it's only going to make me better at what I do. Now, if you think about it, throw a like down there. Super pumped that I'm actually catching traction on the comments and the subscribers and the likes, so I'm over the moon with that. But really, 3 simple things. Make a form that's real easy, that you'll use more than once, so that you'll actually want to do it more than once. Use parchment paper, use clear epoxy or resin. Other than that, that's the end of this video. I hope y'all have an amazing day, and I'll catch y'all next time.